Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome to the Christopher Mark Show. Today, I have a very vibrant, very holistic individual person who we had an amazing conversation. It was uh, almost life changing. It was almost life changing to have that conversation. Tammy, can you tell everybody your full name and what you do?
Sure. So I am Tammy Goen, and I'm a holistic calm coach, if you will, and I help especially highly sensing people to be able to just calm the nervous system, be able to decrease overwhelm, decrease stress, avoid burnout, and then get to a place where they can really love themselves and embrace everything that they have to offer. So I do that primarily through coaching. I also do energy work, and then for those who are local, massage therapy.
Wow. So let me ask you a question. Like, what inspired you to get started? Was there something that, like, for you to say, "Hey, this is what I'm going to do," whether it was, helping people holistically, mentally, or whatever? What was that thing that inspired you to do it?
So how much time do we have?
We got some
Well,
time. We got some
yeah,
time.
I've always been interested in people, and I loved people watching when I was younger. Of course, I didn't know how I could possibly use that in my career, but I did think I was going to be an artist. Went to school with that intention, and then started taking psychology courses. Got really, really interested, and it was just my thing, and just kept going. And thought, oh well, maybe the people watching, kind of fits into here because I'm just always really curious, as to why people do what they do, and then how can you, change that. And so I ended up with a master's in counseling, and I did that for a number of years. And then one day I woke up and I'd hit a wall and was completely burned out. And it was pretty shocking and disappointing. And I didn't really know what to do. I made some changes for a little while, but I came to terms with the fact that I just couldn't do the work anymore. And then later I discovered why all that happened, because I'm a highly sensing person and I wasn't aware of that as a trait, and I didn't orchestrate my life in such a way to make that workable. The clients that I worked with were, really intense emotionally, worked with primarily survivors of various kinds of abuse. And while I thought I was doing really well with it, it was really adding up and taking its toll on me energetically and emotionally, and that I just couldn't do it anymore. So, always wanted to be in that helping realm. I ended up going toward massage therapy and learning energy work as well, which was a really, really great fit for me. So, I did that for a number of years, and then started to really miss the emotional piece that I was getting, with my clients in counseling, but I didn't want to go that same direction. And so that's when coaching, emerged for me. And I continued with the energy piece and some of the massage as well. But I really enjoyed having that connection again with people on that emotional level. And then along in the middle kind of all of that change, I discovered the trait of high sensitivity and took a deep dive into that, what it meant for me, what it meant for other people. And then I started noticing that a lot, if not the majority of the people that were finding me as a coach were also highly sensing. And then I started to hear from them, because I learned to, when I'd start working with somebody, I'd pick up quite often, like, yeah, I think this is a highly sensing person. And so I
Mhm.
would say, hey, you heard about this, and kind of ask a few questions. And then they have the big aha moment, like, oh my gosh, okay, this makes so much sense. All this stuff, in my life to this point, I can reframe. And so that made things easier. But then I also started hearing directly from those highly sensing folks that they felt they could only get so far in their past experience with coaching and counseling. And they weren't really completely understood or heard or validated, or just, didn't have the right understanding to go any farther. And so I realized that was really a niche that was not being addressed fully, and I could really, make a difference there. I can certainly work with folks that aren't highly sensing, but my sensitivities, my intuition and compassion and everything allow me to, kind of be able to tell what people are needing, and to use those skills.
When you, well, first, just say this to everyone. That was amazing, right? Like, she does a lot of good things in the world and helping people. This is why we had that life changing conversation. Um, But so Tammy, can you tell everybody a little bit about like, what goes into like how do you know if a person is a person who's more sensitive and more like because most people just feel like, okay, well, this is something I just got to suck up. Like this is most times when people are dealing with their emotions, they either grow up in a household, especially whether it's either especially for males, more importantly, like they have to like body and bottle up their emotions and not really express it. So
Mhm.
how do you go about being able to help them to feel open and comfortable to be able to let that out?
So, usually the first piece is for those who aren't aware of the trait, helping them to understand, oh, this is what this is all about, so that they can reframe everything and recognize, oh, it's not just me, and there is a reason that I operate this way in the world. And then looking at that and saying, okay, can we validate that, acknowledge it, honor it, and then see how we can actually use that sensitivity and all of the things that come with that, instead of trying to make it not the case. Because I hear that all the time. Can you just make me not so sensitive? and and that's actually in some ways very sad,
Yeah,
because I totally
yeah.
get it, because before I understood all of this and had all the tools and whatnot, it was very, very challenging, and felt very frustrating, and like, can I just make this go away? But when
Mhm.
you do have all the tools and the understanding, and you can acknowledge it and go forward with it, it allows it to be so amazing, because there's so many things in our lives for sensitives that we don't realize is an integral part of being so sensitive. And we wouldn't recognize or feel or enjoy those things to that extent, that we do, if we didn't have that level of sensitivity. So if we got rid of the challenging stuff, we'd have to also get rid of the stuff that's just so amazing. For me, it's like the difference between Technicolor and grayscale. I
Right.
mean, there's just so much out there that's so amazing, and sensitives pay attention to every little thing and notice all the nuances and all of the different colorations and just everything in life, and that gives us richness. So if we try to downplay the sensitivity piece, we'd have to get rid of that as well. So I think it's really important to be able to say, okay, yeah, this is where it can be really challenging, but these are the tools, this is the mindset, this is how to approach, so that we can use the sensitivity, and make it our superpower,
Right.
basically. And whether that's in the creative field or leadership, or however that looks, there's just so many skills available.
Now, when the people that you're usually working with, what do you find that they're more artists or are they more business professionals? Like, what is the common thing that um that you would say that makes that person aware that they're sensitive? Like, do you find that they're in one of those categories?
It's very common. There tends to be a much higher percentage of us in those fields, because we just have that proclivity, genetically, if you will. I mean, that's just kind of the way we're wired
Hmm.
to be in that realm, whether that is our professional arena or not. Uh, the other thing, though, that I tend to work with people, or that they will find me, who are in some kind of a leadership role, or they're in some kind of a business role that is either not suited to them and their sensitivities, or they're in that place where they don't trust themselves as leaders or spokespeople, or whatever, like being out there and presenting their skills, and they tend to sit back and go, oh, I don't know what I've had clients say, I don't even know why I'm in this position. Why do they consider me a leader? Because
Hmm.
there's this comparison with what that's supposed to look like. So a lot of it is helping people to let go of comparison in general.
Hmm.
Instead of saying, oh, well, I'm this way and everybody else, because that's often what it feels like, is this way. So, there's something wrong, and I need to change this, or I can't be successful doing this because I don't do it this way. That doesn't resonate with me. Or people who get locked in that place of thinking, I have to do things this way only to succeed, or to be liked, or to be included, or whatever it is. and it doesn't resonate. And that sets up this really, heavy conflict internally for, this is who I am, but this is who I have to present as. And that's, really, really challenging. So being able to get to that place where you can say, this is me, this is what resonates, honor that, and then, choose what that might be. And, maybe that's in the creative realm, and just being able to say, oh yeah, I have these special gifts that I can send out there. Or maybe it's in leadership, or maybe it's in, something that they haven't touched with before because they felt limited, because it wasn't, what they should do or what everybody else was doing. So being able to get to that point. And then in terms of the emotional piece of it, a lot of it is, again, that honoring piece, being able to say, okay, yeah, sometimes I feel things really intensely, and that's okay. And it's not forever. And this is what I can do to manage those emotions, or, whether that's shifts in environment, the things that we can control, or what we're telling ourselves about it. Sensitives really give a lot of meaning to things. And we kind of make assumptions, or we say, oh, this is what this means. And it might not mean that for everybody else, but for us, that's what it means. So being able to look at that and say, oh, can I give this a different meaning? That shifts our experience with the emotions right away. So, using these tools to be able to acknowledge and then, release the feelings, or just say, yeah, I experience things really intensely and my emotions are pretty big. So what am I going to do, to manage that, so I don't have to shut them down and say I can't have emotions.
So do you find that people who, like, what makes a person, how do I put this? What makes a person feel like, I don't want to say insensitive, but non-sensitive, like not, you know what I mean? How you meet certain people where they just don't have that emotional reaction. They're not responding to things. They're just like, pretty much cut and dry. It's like, what do you think it is about those type of people versus a person who is more sensitive and more prone to being, having more emotional reactions to certain things? What do you think is the thing that kind of separates those people?
Well, so there's a couple things. Sometimes even people who are really, really sensitive, they either get tired of experiencing those deep feelings or being told that they're too emotional. And so they'll learn to shut down and negate those emotions. And in order to do that, there has to be kind of this facade of, nope, no feelings going out, going in. It's just here. And so it can seem like insensitivity when they're actually really, really sensitive and they just can't manage it anymore.
Gotcha.
Or just choose, like, I'm just not going to go there.
Right.
And probably, especially, again, like you said, culturally, for men, it's like, oh, got to man up, can't be sensitive, can't have all these feelings. So there's that side of it. But then if we look at sensitivity as a genetic trait, as a way that we're actually wired, then we look at, say 20 to 30%. The research keeps seeming, showing that it's maybe a little bit more than what we used to think, 15 to 20%, probably a little bit higher than that now. But so the other 70, 80% are wired differently than we are. And so some of those folks, so if we're on the real high end of sensitivity, then there are those who genetically, the way they're wired, are really low on that sensitivity scale. It doesn't mean that they're insensitive, like they just don't care about anybody. There's certain personalities that are like that. But in terms of just that level of sensitivity, being less sensitive, there's just a big range. So there are people who they just don't connect with other people's potential experiences or their emotions. And even within themselves, they don't really connect on that emotional level. And then just in terms of personality, you can go through like the Myers-Briggs type test, and see what kind of INFJ tends to be the most popular or most common one for high sensitivity. But there's just ways we're made, with our personality that lend us toward more sensitivity or not. But then there's all of those experiences, all of the childhood experiences, the factors of just our environment and what we're growing up with, who we're surrounded with, all of that stuff has an impact on our emotional state and what we're going to be doing with it. And so if people are, maybe they are more sensitive, but they've had so many negative experiences expressing that emotionality, they might just say, I'm just not going there anymore. It's not safe. It's not comfortable. It's not okay. So there's really lots of different, origins, I would say, of someone who's seemingly not emotional.
Gotcha. What would you say is so you ever see people who they might struggle with, they might feel like people don't listen to them or they don't feel heard, right? And then they have maybe an anger outburst or things like that. Why does that happen? Why do you think that happens with certain people? And then with certain people, they're okay, well, I guess they can kind of move past it. And then certain people, they are like, why aren't you listening to me? You know what I mean? What is that? Where is that stemming from? Would you say in your professional opinion?
Well, again, personality-wise, there's just different ways that we approach the world, and sometimes people are just very, out there, and they're just gonna try to get their needs met, and if they're not being listened to, it'll be like, hey, I can be in your face. And then there are others who are so not okay with that, and so they'll sit with it here but not say anything, and then in some ways that can be more detrimental, because then resentment builds and all of that, because they're not only not being heard, but they're not speaking their truth, and so it's just festering in there. And then sometimes folks can get to that point where they've done that for so long, then they do reach a boiling point and then explode, and people are completely shocked because they're usually so quiet and don't go there. But there's a variety of reasons that folks might get to that point, but there certainly are those personalities that are just like, nope, I'm not with that. I'm not okay with that. You're going to hear from me. And, it's some of it is upbringing. I mean, that is, if you go way back to the very beginning of, okay, I'm going to take Psych 101 or whatever, there's the idea of, genetics, nature versus nurture. And, there's really both. They're very instrumental in how we become the adults that we are. And if we're highly sensing and we have really, really supportive, loving, safe childhoods and environments in our home, then we're likely to develop really, really strong coping strategies and tend toward being successful and doing things well and really getting a lot out of life. And then those who are just in that place where they're not getting that support and love and security, then they're more likely to develop the less effective or healthy coping strategies and addictions and health choices that are just not positive, or just coping mechanisms that don't work. And those, so whatever is called differential susceptibility. So if we have whatever that environment is that we have as really young children, babies even, if we're really, really sensitive, then that affects us more. So it can make it more challenging for us later, but it can also make it much easier for us, or open the doors to a lot more possibility. And just like they've discovered also that highly sensitives tend to seek out help more often, and they're more likely to get positive reward from that, or positive benefit, because they're so open to everything and they take in so much input. They consider everything, and it all comes together and can be really, really beneficial. So a lot of it depends on that early time, for sure.
Now, when you have people who are, and I've I have met people, and I've also been People have always said to me, they'll be like, oh, well, like, they might have the feeling when you're very in tune and sensitive that, um, you're aware of what other people are feeling. So you're feeling it on a higher vibration, right? You're taking it in higher than most people are. And so what would you say is the thing that where people might feel like, okay, is this person how do you know if a person's being genuine in their approach and nature? Or if they're, because of their awareness and level of awareness as a person who is sensitive, that they're using, because it's kind of like, it's in a sense, it's like a gift and a curse, right? It's like you're sensitive to and aware of what people are going through, but because people who may not be be familiar with how that person operates or functions, it can come off as like, okay, well, is this person trying to control me? Is this manipulation? Is it this? Is it that? How do you determine if this is a genuine person who's coming from this perspective versus a person who is leveraging that ability in order to control other people?
So I would say, for me personally, the biggest thing, and then I help people to learn how to do this, but is like checking in with my gut reaction.
Okay.
Because I do pick up things, I'm going to know if something's off. And maybe I don't know what it is or why, because I've had people say that too, like, oh, this is my friend so and so on Facebook, and she's waiting for you to be a friend, and all I've heard is all of these horror stories about this person, and I watch my friend as she talks about this person, right?
Right.
I haven't even met this person, but I already have that understanding. It's like, this isn't my person.
Yeah.
And my friend was kind of offended. She's like, well, you don't even know her. You should give her a chance. And I said, I don't really need to know anything more. And within myself, I knew that was an okay choice. And yeah, I hadn't given her the benefit of the doubt, but I'd taken in all of that information and seen, some of the things that she's written, or, I've heard that she said. I was like, yeah, no. But sometimes just meeting someone, it seems like, well, everything seems fine, and what they're saying, their words are on,
Right.
and yet it doesn't come across energetically as true or real or with good intent. And some of that is just that gut sense of, that intuitive hit of, this doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel right for me. Now that can be really challenging, in a relationship. We can get locked into someone that we already know, and then we start to realize, wait, what's going on here? This is getting so difficult. And then we have to be able to step back and go, okay, am I just wanting this to work, or am I thinking acting from up here, or am I listening to what I'm really feeling and getting from that person? So the words can be right, but you just get that feeling like, this isn't working for me. And being able to honor that is key.
Yeah, and, I find that sometimes people, and it's kind of weird. It's like you might have the people who are actually looking for help and looking to learn how to manage things to help other people. And I always kind of say it's like you have people who are trying to go towards the light or pull you into their darkness, and I think that for me, that's kind of how I was able to look at it, because sometimes people they're okay with who they are, but it's hard to, because they're in tune with a lot of things and aware in certain areas, is like they make it seem as if though they're not. And then once you start, like, because of what you do and how you are out here genuinely trying to help the people who actually need the help, or the people who are actually like at a place where they're trying to go towards the light and try to help other people, you're right. It's like you have to have that instinctual or gut feeling to be able to discern that, because it's kind of like most people can look the same. They can look exactly the same, operate the same, you know what I mean? And that intuition, without that, it's like you wouldn't be able to know,
Mhm.
you
And if
know?
you have someone who several people like, and they're always talking about this person, and you go, oh, okay, and then you meet them and you're going, wow, there's okay, great for everybody else, but not for me. And then sometimes later people will say, how did you figure, something major happens and they realize there's something not okay, and they said, how did you know that? Or what why did you decide without even knowing all this stuff that wasn't what was going on? And you're like, well, I don't know, it was just a just a
Yeah,
feeling.
it's
but
just a
but you
feeling.
have to be able to honor that, instead of because we can discount and go, oh, I have nothing to base this on, everyone else seems to like this person, or everything that the person's saying you know sounds true, but it's just not, it just doesn't seem either authentic, or just doesn't seem right, or there's something missing, or whatever that is. So, but we have to be able to honor that and say, even though nothing's pointing to this,
Right.
or other people aren't going to agree, or whatever it is, that's just the way it is for me. And
Yeah,
yeah,
I tell people all the time, they'll be like, how do you know who's going to be a good client for you? And I like you. I'll know it within myself, but I'll know that, like, you know, okay, I like this person. I feel like um, that I can help them to help other people, or to be
Mhm.
able to better their lives. And that's really what it is for me. It's more about, helping you to help someone else, not necessarily, um, you know, having it where you're not at a place of being, open, um, to being able to transition to that next stage in your life, because everybody's not. Some people are just, they're okay with who they are, and what happens is, it's like, and you kind of know it when you're talking to people and they have 1,000 defense mechanisms, and and now you gotta pretty much, you're doing like emotional jujitsu and like kung fu, trying to get past all of that, and you realize, like, you know what, um unless this person is surrendering in this moment for there to be that transition, it really is hard. It really
Yeah,
is
I think
hard.
sometimes people will get on a roll that way, and whether they're defending themselves or their behaviors, or they're going through the motions or whatever, and then they'll ask a question, or they'll say, well, what do you think about that? Sometimes just silence and just
Mm-hmm.
sitting with that question for a while opens up that space for them to be, like, okay, I just asked this question, what do I think about it? Or, and then sit with it for a little bit, and then they kind of like go, oh, okay, wait. And then it becomes like apparent. But because a lot of people don't take very much time to get out of their heads and
Mm.
just be, and acknowledge, because you can ask them, well, what do you think about that? Oh, I don't know, it's fine. But they haven't actually checked it out, or said, well, I don't know, what do I feel about that? And so if you have that time where you are just with yourself, and you can ask these deeper questions, and get used to saying, what do I feel, what resonates in my body with this
Yeah.
person, with this idea, with this choice. If I have a decision to make, and I think I should do this one, well, what does that feel like? If you sit with it and say, okay, what would that feel like if I do this? And then there's some kind of immediate, like, oh, I know I should do that, but this is
Mm-hmm.
what I feel. And then you get one that's right on, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, that feels good, even though it might be completely different than somebody else, what they would expect of you, or what they would do. But it's all about that honoring. But yeah, you have to be able to go there.
Yeah.
And in terms of the knowing if you're got the right client or not, I look at it too from, and this is a whole other conversation, but in terms of like frequency, we all resonate with certain frequencies, and we all have our own frequency level, and depending on what's going on, of course, that can change, shift day to day, and throughout the day. But generally speaking, we're on a certain level. And so sometimes, even though we want to help someone and we've got like all these ideas and it's like, oh, this is all great, but wow, I don't think we're the right match, because the connection, on that frequency level just feels like it's just like chaos, or so it just seems like maybe that's going to be what the focus is instead of what the real work needs to be, because there's that there's a word that I want in terms of music, and it's like escaping me, but it's discordant. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not working. So sometimes it's just that. I mean, we can't be the perfect person for everyone. We can't be everyone's friend. We can't be everyone's coach. I mean, we all resonate with different things and need things at different times, even.
Yeah.
So we have to honor that too.
I had to learn that. I learned that, through this journey that I was on. So trust me, I totally understand. So Tammy, let me ask you this: what is your ultimate vision for what you're doing, like for people and the people that you're helping? What is your ultimate goal and your ultimate vision for what you're doing?
Primarily it's to help everyone especially those who are highly sensing, to stop trying to be different, to be less sensitive or fit in a mold, stop trying to play small, and to acknowledge who they are and honor all of that they already bring, and then be able to amplify that by saying, oh, this is what I already bring to the table. These are the things that are amazing. So let's make more of that, rather than spending time trying to be a different person or to fit in or to follow the rules, culturally or in business or whatever that is. It's like, oh yeah, but I should be doing that. It's like getting to that place of what I was talking about, like what actually resonates, honoring that, and then moving forward with that. But especially sensitives, we tend toward playing smaller and not putting our voice out there because of so many factors, wanting to be perfect and wanting to not, step on anybody's toes, and I mean all these different things. We just kind of tend to not be that force. So helping people to do that.
Wow. So yeah, I can understand that. What would you say is the thing that keeps you motivated, like to do that, to continue to do it? Because there's a lot of work. It's work that it's work that people don't see, but it's still work nonetheless, because it's like, it's almost like somebody saying to you, oh, well, you're just talking to me. It's like, no, I'm not just talking to you. Like, so what would you, what is the thing that keeps you, that you use as a form of inspiration to keep you going in your service and what you do?
Two things. One is all of the stuff that continues to come out about sensitivity, or they say, oh, we've just proven this, or we've just realized this, and we're putting, and then it shifts a little bit or validates. It's like, oh yeah, we've got to get this information out there. So there's that piece. And then I just lost my train of thought for a second. Just the other piece of whenever I meet someone who is highly sensing, or they see me on a podcast, or they find my website or my TV show or whatever it is, and then they contact me and say, oh my gosh, it was like you were speaking to me, and I had no idea that there was any other way to, and I want to manage this, but I have no idea. And then it reminds me again of like, all the folks out there who need that information, who, can really benefit from, like, how do we go from barely surviving to, thriving this way? So those are the things that keep me moving forward, because it reinforces that work.
And so let me ask you this: if someone was following your same path as a coach, or even if the person who is going through similar situations as far as being sensitive, what would be that one thing that you would say to them to help them keep going?
To remember that you're wired that way, and that it's actually a genetic. I'm losing a lot of words today.
It's okay. It's all right.
It's here for a reason.
Okay.
And I mean, even animals are about the same percentage are highly sensitive to, and it's here for a specific reason, in the world. And if we can just acknowledge it and say, oh, okay, yeah, this is the way I am, just like other people are these different ways. And so that's me. I'm going to acknowledge that and embrace it and find out how to do that if I need help, some guidance in what that means, but being able to just own it.
That's beautiful. And last question I have for you, Tammy, is how can people find you if they want to work with you? And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there after this is going to be pretty, like, man, I'm feeling stuff too. I got going through things. So how can people find you on social media, online, and other stuff like that?
My website is just coachtammygoen.com, but if you go to Linktree, I have a profile on there, and it has all of my socials and my group and my a quiz, my website, all of those things. That's the easiest place. Just Linktree with just my name, Tammy Goen.
Okay. All right. Cool. And we're gonna create Tammy a profile as a part of the Dreamer Society, so you'll be able to. We'll have all her links and stuff like that there, and the interview that we're doing here as well. Tammy, I admire you first for everything that you're doing, because I know what it takes to do it. But I appreciate the fact that you're helping people. From the way that you're helping them. We're all helping from different angles, but I think that the angle that you're helping people is an angle that is a very delicate angle, because most people, being sensitive and being emotional, they feel like, oh, well, this is not that important, but it's the very thing that runs the whole world. It's the very thing that determines if this person is in the right mental and emotional state to do a job or to care or even be in relationships. So I appreciate everything that you're doing, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who do as well.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for everything you offer through this show. It's amazing, and I've just really enjoyed talking with you both times now.
Yeah, both times. It was awesome. Yeah, but so I'm gonna put this together for you, Tammy, and then we'll touch base. But I hope you guys enjoyed this amazing episode with Tammy, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.
Okay.